Today is December 17th, and you're listening to the Beer Temple Podcast.
Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Podcast. Another expert fade.
You know what? It's been a while.
It's been a while.
And I joke, but then, then you see.
You see it, and you're like,
Oh, I get it now.
yeah, that's like a small hall guy. Like, there's like a Hall of Fame, and there's some guys that would make a Hall of Fame of the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And if there's one of those for fading,
I
Surge is it.
might make it like 5th, 6th ballot.
yeah, you're on the ballot for sure.
Yeah. But
You're there. You're
Sure.
right there.
right.
Yeah.
But
You see that one of the
so
all-time
Steve
greats.
Kerr,
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, Steve Garvey.
Right.
You're the Steve Garvey of fades.
Yeah.
You won an MVP, but no one knows how.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm your co-host, Mike Schallau of Iswas Brewing. I'm here with your other co-host, Chris Quinn.
What's up?
Not much, man.
I'm wearing some Steak Industries wares right
Nice,
now. I got
nice.
called out for it too.
Uh-huh. By who?
It's just an admirer of my gear, my
Nice.
fit.
It's a
as the
sick
kids
fit.
call it. Yeah. So so I'm wearing my tie dye.
Nice.
Feeling good. Wearing my obscure little Franconian brewery shirt.
True
I've got the fit.
podcast uni.
Yeah. It's essentially all I own is either
Tie-dye or beer shirts.
Yeah. Beefsteak, Steak Industries, I guess I should say.
Yeah, get the name right, bud.
I remember there was that whole C&D, and then
I heard he sold it to someone.
Steak Industries. Well, yeah, I mean it depends who you ask what happened,
Yeah.
but or beer,
Mm-hmm.
beer stuff. So that's me. So or Eagles. I'll wear some heavy slime.
That's true.
Every now and then.
I saw you wear a Phillies jersey once.
That's true.
Great. Fashion corner over.
Okay. Well, see you next year.
Bye.
What's new with you?
Not much. I had a really fun Friday through Monday. Eric, our guest, actually stopped by on Friday. Got to watch me have the worst brew day I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's good.
We're
Not at all embarrassing.
I mean, it was so bad at that point that we're brewing styles that aren't saison for taproom purposes. Brewed a little stout, nothing imperial or anything. Mashed it in. Stuck the mash.
Oh,
First time in 5 years we stuck a mash, which is
effing
shocking.
amateurs.
Totally, complete amateur hour.
I think you added your maple syrup a little early. in
Yeah,
the
we shouldn't
process.
have grained that in first.
Ah,
Like it was really
That's
the
how you
cacao
started.
nibs and vanilla beans, and actually the lactose, graining the lactose in first is what really got us.
and then it just became a cement.
Yeah.
Got it.
Boiler didn't turn on. Had to call the boiler guys to come in. And then it was like a 4-hour runoff once I got it.
And you had Brindleson in for this one.
Yep, it was a collab with Brindleson.
I swear this doesn't usually happen.
They got the boiler working. It had a 4-hour runoff a day. It turned into like a 9-hour day. Turned into a 10, 12-hour day. And then we knocked into the tank. And as we were knocking into the tank, the temperature controller broke as we were knocking into it and started throwing an error message that we couldn't get rid of. So we had to clean the tank next to it and then knock out everything from that tank into the tank next to
Oh
it.
boy.
And then as we were doing that, I was like, this is weird. We're supposed to be knocking at like 55. Why does it say 42? Realized all the glycol had been running because the Vranco broke the valve open. Open.
Not closed. Got
And
it.
then I was like, well, it's in the new tank now. Like, we'll try to warm it. It'll be fine. This yeast can go down to 42. It'll be all right. Came in the next day. And in the new tank with the supposedly functioning Ranko, the beer was at 33 degrees.
Lagering.
Yeah, right.
Before fermentation.
Pre-fermentation lagering is
Yeah.
no one's doing that. Couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Had to come in the next day and, shut the glycol off to it. Came the next day and did the old shoot hot liquor at the manway door while you recirculate the beer trick.
That old chestnut.
Yeah, everyone does it. Brindleson. There's a
He
post
taught
on,
you that.
There's a post on Pro Brewer from like 1999 about
Yeah.
how Brindleson doing it. Got it up to fermentation temperature. It took off. It's doing fine. Then I gave myself a beer shower yesterday because I plugged the bottom of another tank with hops. That's what happens when you dry hop stuff. When you haven't dry hopped with more than half a pound per barrel in 5 years, you just immediately clog the bottom of the tank.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm really good at this.
So let me ask you, who, if you were doing a collab and somebody was there while all that stuff was happening, who would you most be mortified to have there witnessing all that stuff?
Eric. That's a good question. I mean, probably Matt Brindleson would be one of
I would think
them.
maybe Dan Carey, someone just like
my parents.
known for his technical precision.
Yeah, the SBA would be a bad one.
No, you wouldn't want that.
Yeah, Dan, you remember back in the day when you had to shoot the hot liquor at the manway door?
Why do you guys do that in those 200-barrel tanks you have?
Or you got with the new brewery addition you guys are putting on? Where's the hose going for
Yeah,
that
where
process?
do you shoot the hot liquor at the outdoor tanks? Yeah, so no, I'm technically a professional. Only technically, though.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, and all that time I was supposed to be doing other, record-keeping work because I also do all the bookkeeping for the brewery. So that was a lot of not doing that and then doing it very panickedly. So, and the TTB came the day before that just to check in on us because I filled out my brewer's report incorrectly and they thought I owed them $6,000 worth of taxes. And
Got it.
They came and they walked around and they're like, okay, did you put this in gallons instead of barrels? And I was like, yeah, I did. Like, you need to amend that now so we don't think you owe us $6,000 because you also forgot to pay it. I was like, I wonder why. No, it's because
So they just rolled in.
They told me they were coming.
Got it.
And they said that they do this for a lot of new breweries to make sure we're in compliance with stuff. But I think they only do that for new breweries who fill out the form tremendously incorrectly and then don't pay the tax they claim to owe. So
Got it.
that might have something to do with it
Go
too.
see what they're all about.
Yeah. They're like, did you make 1,700 barrels in 1 month?
Did he?
Like, no.
Did he notice that? I can just imagine
It was a woman, you
a woman
sexist.
with a I don't know why that's sexist, but okay.
She also thought Ashley Brandt was a woman, which made me laugh a little bit.
I can imagine her with the clipboard kind of going around, seeing your fermentation tank at 32 and then being like...
That was the day before.
And then just turning and saying, did you put this in gallons by chance?
Yeah. It would have been... We were originally supposed to brew on Thursday, but I pushed it back because I didn't want to have to be brewing while the TTB was there. And I'm just thinking about imagining that brew day. If I was like, who cares? It will be a long runoff anyway. Like I can just already can pay attention to it. It'll be good. But with also the TTB there would have been the funniest. Not in the moment. It would not have been funny in the moment at all. But
yeah, the only thing worse is if
on.
literally there was an errant spark, and as they came in, your hair was literally on fire.
Yeah, just laying on the ground.
No, I like more of you the moment it happens, they walk in and it's just like ablaze and you're running around back and forth.
Yeah, so much of what they were talking about was how to properly where to properly store finished beer and stuff. And so they were so confused, and I was like, well, sometimes when we put it in the bottle or the keg, it's not finished yet. And they're like, well, it's in the keg. I'm like, yeah, but it reconditions in there. So they're like, so it's still in process. I'm like, yes. They're like, oh, so where do you store that? I'm like, at ambient temperature. Like, well, but your tax-determined room is the cooler. I'm like, correct. And so then we came to the conclusion that I have to now take every single case of beer into the cooler and back out of the cooler before I send it out to distribution.
Which you will do.
Which, of course, I had been doing it just to make sure I was in compliance, and I will continue to do it with every single case of beer for
When
sure.
when I got there on Friday, they were literally in the process of doing that. So I've seen it with my own two
Yeah,
eyes.
that's right.
Put it in, take it out.
Take it
Put
out,
in,
yeah.
take it out. Has to touch the warehouse floor. Isn't that what they say?
Touch grass, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so it was a
just
really
like these-
eventful week.
Just like these day zero tappings you're doing, goes to the distributor,
Right.
pops by, says what's up, gets checks in inventory, and then it comes back out from the distributor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's where it comes from.
Yep,
Yeah. How else could it happen?
right.
Yeah. You trying to blow up my spot? Like, what are you trying to
I'm
do?
not blowing up any spot, bro.
okay.
Yeah.
You know the TTB's tracking me now. There's probably a device on my
Yeah, he's wearing an
They're
anklet.
listening to
The first person to ever have an ankle bracelet from the TCB.
They're like, you can go wherever you want. It's fine, but
We've only seen you go into the cooler and out 50 times today. It should be
Yeah, it's a-
3,000
yeah, it's a
times.
yeah. Well, we're still in business, I guess. So
Okay. Well,
And killing it.
that's good. Yeah.
Sounds like.
I wouldn't say that, but
Killing it being himself.
yeah, slowly.
Yeah.
and
slowly
quickly.
killing it. Yeah. Well,
also-
that's
Yeah.
I'm glad you had an eventful week.
Well,
And-
today I also got to dig through probably 6 months of emails looking for receipts to send to the SBA to get money from them. And so trying to remember which place I ordered what from, because I thought they were just going to give me the cash as operating capital, and they are choosing to not do that. So now I have to find all the receipts to give them. So
Yeah.
my
Hey, at
brain is
least in the
slowly
digital-
oozing out of my ears.
And yeah, in the digital age, though, those forensics are definitely
It was
doable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good on you.
How was your week? Any new news?
Oh boy, yeah, it's been pretty chaotic here as well. We're trying to do a whole bunch, but yeah, did we talk about it on the last episode? Did I break?
I'm not the right
news?
person to ask.
Oh,
I don't have a great memory of it.
I don't know. The show hasn't gone out yet, which I think we mentioned anyway. But yeah, the news about us and Middlebrow working together
Yeah.
on pizza here went out today. So
Exciting
that's-
stuff.
Yep, you've known about that for a little while. So.
I didn't tell a soul.
Yeah, I'm sure you haven't. So that's cool. That was exciting. That went out, and yeah, getting ready for the just all the stuff that will entail. So it'll be fun. You know what? That's what people always say. It's like kitchens and working with kitchens and stuff. It's great and it's
Yeah,
fun
it's-
and
Brings joy to your life.
brings joy to your life
And tranquility.
sleep and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So that's what I've chosen to do with my life. So there's that.
We used to have a motto at a brewery I worked at that was, "It's gonna be great,"
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
aka that sounds like an awesome problem for future Eric to deal with.
Yeah,
And future Eric has a lot of ambition and promise, and he can get a lot more done than current Eric can. Somehow the wisdom that seeps into the future is pretty remarkable.
The time value of getting things done.
So for those listening, you longtime listeners, you may already know that our guest for today's special end of year show is your boy.
He's out here.
He's out here at the Beer Temple. How are you? How you
Good.
been?
Thanks for having me. What is the draft premise for this episode tonight?
So the draft premise.
It's a bottle shop, bottle cap, salary
fantasy-
cap,
fantasy
fantasy draft. We're drafting the best bottle shops based on their bottle cap rating.
Okay.
Within the proximity of these walls.
I was wondering if we were going to do the best draft recap.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
But, it's nice to also just be here as a guest if that's still on the table. I'm not trying to push for that, but
It is.
Yeah.
It is still on the table.
all right.
Are you guys still doing the Zombie Dust Radio, or have you kind of let that ship
Yeah, of
sail?
course.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've been
Never stopped.
every week, 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to hit the algorithm.
Yeah.
Or else
Right.
you're not going to go.
What algorithm? You actually you release them now?
No.
Oh. Got it.
of
Got
a
it. No,
question
enough
is that?
said. Enough said.
AI is creeping in.
Right.
And the AI Zombie Dust podcasts I can hardly tell the difference
Right.
anymore.
Yep.
So it's really terrifying. So the only thing we can do is crank out content now
Right.
That's cool.
about
Yep.
zombie dust.
We're thinking video in 25 to help differentiate, but also that can be AI'd as well.
So let me ask real quick. We had the little fashion corner. I just want to do a little financial crypto corner. How are your investments looking up? Are you still just mostly Dustcoin? Are you moving into Fatcoin at all? Or
I've mostly stayed in Dustcoin.
okay,
A little bit of Doge to help
okay.
diversify the portfolio.
Are you working for Doge, the Department of?
No comment.
Okay.
No
All
comment.
right. I've moved really heavily into Fatcoin.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that, but if I'm being completely honest, I
Sure.
lost the password for my wallet.
Oh.
It wasn't Citra, and I quit.
Was it in the
trying to
was it
figure it out?
something
So
in the blockchain?
it's in the blockchain somewhere, but
Okay.
the password
Is
for
that what you call your closet?
the wallet. That's
yeah,
where you keep cryptocurrencies.
My crypto
my
wallet.
guy.
I thought it was your. Yeah. When I was at your house, you were calling that. You were calling your coat closet
Yeah,
your wallet,
right.
The one with all the growlers in it.
Yeah. What did you think I was talking about?
That's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah,
I was just
but you
making
got-
sure.
Chris, you got to use the right terminology. Those people, you're going to hit the algorithm.
So you locked yourself out of it?
yeah.
Oh man. Okay, my
It's
bad.
a multi-factor.
I tried to get my closet on the blockchain, and I can't get back into it anymore.
Oh no.
There's a public ledger of what's in my closet on the third floor of my walk-up apartment where the radiator is.
All right. Well, it's
All right.
safe in there. Hopefully you can get in. Just I don't know, straighten out a coat hanger or something. Try.
I'll do that.
All right. Try to get in there.
Straight-
Yeah. Try to pick that lock.
I'll do my best.
All right.
But I'm just going to sit on it. It's still going up and to the right.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's up higher even than Bitcoin,
Yep.
Really?
which famously at the time of recording this is over $100,000, I think. So,
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't
but
looked
that's
at.
because
I thought
Dustcoin is priceless.
I was gonna say I thought Dustcoin was at like 100,000 Bitcoin last I,
think
looked.
it's
but
yeah, that sounds about right.
I know that the mining process is a little bit slower for Dustcoin, so
Oh, okay.
it's a lot of conversions and stuff like that. I'm not really sure, but
Got it.
Yeah, a lot of prime numbers.
Okay.
I know a lot about it. A lot of graphics cards in my
All right.
that closet.
Fat coin for right now is mostly redeemable for merch at the Fatheads store.
Ooh, wow! What?
So that's worth more than.
And what can we get at the Fathead
fiat
store
currency.
currently? What's like the hot item?
Well, there's a lot of.
Pimp My Sleigh merch.
Yeah, there's some Pimp My Sleigh merch. There's some like cardboard cutouts. There's like some new additions, some new printings coming in.
Are there different cardboard cutouts than the one you already have?
Well, no, they're different print pressings though.
okay, yeah.
So I
Right,
want to
right.
get the different pressings of them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I'm saving up my fat coin for.
did they
this-
have any?
yeah.
Did they have any like Christmas themed like sweaters or anything like that this year?
They just have Christmas themed beers.
Okay.
Like, kind of like pimp themed beers.
Sure. Yeah.
So they have some pimp themed beers that I've been enjoying.
What are the other ones besides Pimp My Sleigh that they have in the Pimp series?
They have really it's pimp my everything.
Okay,
So yeah, like pimp my pumpkin, pimp my house, pimp my wife. So you asked.
didn't you go there with your wife recently?
Yeah, I did not pick up that one. That would not have gone over well.
Yeah, no, it just
Did
seemed
not
like she
go
would like
over
that.
well. So, but yeah.
But that's what you've been enjoying.
That's the one you joke about getting, and then you're like, no, of course
I
w-
wouldn't.
I would
And then
never
you're
get
like,
Oh,
that
just have an
one.
Alpen
when you're there with the boys.
Alvin Alpenglow. And, yeah. Anyway. But you know who does get a lot of that one? No. So it was good. Anyway, so that was Finance Corner. We should move on, I think. Yeah.
Okay, if we must.
Have you had any beers you've had recently that you're looking forward to having?
We opened a Cantillon Fafoon. I hadn't had a Fafoon in a very long time.
Nice.
and it was tasting incredible. It was like a relatively recent vintage of it too, so it hadn't gone and wasn't quite super sour or anything yet. It was last time I'd had it, I remember being like aggressively sour,
Yeah.
and it didn't come across that way this time, which was incredible. The apricot was fresher than I think I've ever experienced it, and it was really nice.
We're tapping a keg of that in a week.
Ooh, cheap keg.
Yeah. I mean, cheap. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to a can that I hope to be opening during the show of that was given to me by my good friend, my boy, Eric here. Kunin Drippa.
You're dripped out. So you had Selly drippings, and now you're getting Drippa.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So.
I thought the tie-dye was drip.
Yeah. I mean, it's just how I live my life at this point. So looking forward to that very much. Haven't had that beer in quite a while. So hopefully it lives up. We did a little bit of a trade. I traded him some Headhunter, some Fatheads. He traded me some Drippa.
Hit my wife.
And then we had to, we had to look at, his wife was with at the time. I was like, oh, and this is the one you wanted me to get. I had never heard of it.
I would never get this.
Never heard of it, but this is the one, right? Okay,
And-
well, there you go.
And as they walked away, she said, "Isn't that the guy that gave you the Booty Hunter shirt a couple years ago?"
Also that you requested.
Right, exactly.
Oh, Chris, are you, wait, you're in Ocean City, Maryland? Oh, can you go to the boardwalk and get me a Booty Hunter shirt, please?
MILF hunting license, if there's that they're out there.
MILF Hunter, yeah. So anyway, so thank you, Eric, for bringing that back. I'm very excited.
I hope it's good.
Try it. Yeah, yeah.
That was just making me think about, like, if, let's say you or I requested a special shirt from the shore, but then you randomly left it out there and having to send a family member back to said Jersey Shore to pick up the most inappropriate shirts.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike knows that. So that your shirt, your wedding present. All this is true for everyone listening.
The can of Benjamin Danklin.
A can of Benjamin Danklin.
Yes, for your wedding, I gave you a can of Benjamin Danklin and a Booty Hunter T-shirt.
Yeah, and Eric gave me a Citra hat.
Yeah, so we're good friends. So I went there. I was at the boardwalk and I was shopping, browsing. There was a bunch that I considered getting. I was looking one. If one said, "If she don't hawk to her, I don't talk to her." Didn't get that one.
That's going to be relevant for years.
Exactly. I wanted one that was evergreen.
Yeah.
So I found it. I knew once I saw it, I'd know. Because my wife's like, what shirt are you looking for? And I was like, when I see it, I'll know. And I saw it, and I knew. And it was the Booty Hunter shirt. I was like, that has Mike written all over it.
Yeah.
And I know that his MILF hunting license that I got him before ran out.
It's expired.
It expired, so he needs
no
some
more MILFs for this guy.
Yeah. So then I left it there. And we came home. Nobody knew where it was. I looked all over the place. I was like, I must have left it at the shore. So I had Margaret's sister go through the place and look all over.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. For a Booty Hunter, a shirt that says
much
Booty
dumber.
Hunter on it. And she mailed it back. That's why I didn't have it at your wedding. I was so upset.
Well, luckily you gave it to me, and it was wrapped very nicely, and I brought it
I wrapped
home,
that, too.
and I genuinely thought it was a gift.
Yeah, I gave it to you at the podcast.
I gave it to my wife to open, so she opened it.
If you don't think that was intentional.
Yeah.
Because you asked me, like, should I open it now? I was like, I didn't want to be, like, too
And
obvious, but I was like, nah, just go home.
I was
open
too
it there.
surprised by you giving me a present that I was like, he's acting weird. And so she opened it, and she loved it.
Yeah. So what was the? I've never talked to you about this. What was the reaction when she's like, "Oh, it's something
She's
at
like,
first.
what? I think she said, "What is this?"
It's a major
And I was like,
award.
obviously, it's a booty hunter shirt.
Obviously, you're not a booty hunter.
But then I sent you guys a picture of her wearing it with the
Yeah.
Citra hat, like over
Yes.
her eyes.
Very
She was
much
very
over
small.
covering her face.
She has a smaller head, so yeah, that was probably her proudest moment.
Her favorite wedding present.
Maybe
probably.
like, hey, can you wear that?
Maybe her favorite wedding moment. Probably.
100 easily.
Maybe.
Easily.
Yeah.
I just want to back up for a quick second. Oh, that made me laugh way too hard. I'm sorry for the listeners. Are MILF hunting licenses transferable? Because if Mike's is just sitting on a beach somewhere, I don't want someone walking around with your license.
It's expired.
Oh, it's expired. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You only get so much time to hunt.
Right. But seriously,
Oh.
And
what
you
if
can,
they?
you can only get so many in a season, too.
Right. I was just gonna say. What if this guy or gal
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
takes down a MILF out of season? Mike's on the hook.
Yeah.
Mike's
That's
on
on
the
my
hook for it.
quota. I'm in trouble.
You're gonna have not just the TTB coming to look for you.
Yeah. The Bureau of Land Management's after me now, too.
Yeah. I'm looking
no.
for a Mr. Mike Shalau. Mr. Shalau, is this your MILF? Did you hunt this MILF?
Is this your MILF hunting license?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
I'm
more of a booty hunting guy now.
I filled it out in MILF gallons, not MILF barrels.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay. Well,
that concludes MILF Corner for the.
yes. All right, let's get to the show. What a train wreck.
All right, so I wanted to, unrelated, say, since I wasn't asked, what have I been up to? Thanks for asking.
No, I did want to ask you that because I think this is the first legitimate thing that may be mentioned on this show.
Yeah, the episode is starting right now, I expect.
All right, clip all that, Serge.
Yep.
Yeah.
For socials.
What up? It's your boy, Eric, out here at the podcast, the place to be, excited, first in line for the Middlebrow Pizza. Not sure when that will be, hopefully soon. I had the honor of attending a brew day on Friday, which was really cool. Charlotte, I don't know if Charlotte's ever been on this
Oh, I thought you were
show or
talking
not.
about my birthday.
What's that? Oh, so I attended two brew days
One went
on
a lot
Friday.
better.
One started in the morning out in Naperville. That was really awesome to see that Charlotte from Solemn Oath put on, called Vibes from the Heartland. It's the second year they're doing it. It's like a all women and non-binary beer to raise funds for the guild's diversity scholarship that they hand out, which is really cool and exciting. So being able to spend time there with a lot of women and people in the beer industry was honestly very inspiring and really cool to see, something that I don't frankly think would have happened like 10, 12 years ago. Mike, you could probably back me up on this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So it's sincerely great to see the industry becoming more diverse, honestly. So I did sincerely want to talk about that because that was like a pretty cool day. And then to get up in my car and drive up to Ravenswood and see this guy who's been brewing for so long, just like,
straight
yeah, I
white male
couldn't
messing up the
couldn't make this mash work for the stout. Quite the full circle
I
moment.
brought you
So-
back.
You
to
hold the
10,
hose
15
while I
years.
turn up the temperature.
Right, yeah. Hey, just aim it right there.
That wasn't until Sunday, dude. All right.
Oh man. That
But
was,
let me
That was great.
let me ask you though. You have a new job,
Yeah, I think I might have been on once.
but I don't think you really talked about it.
Probably not, because I'm still very new. But
Can you just talk a little bit about your job? Because I'm genuinely interested in like what that job is like, what that whole world is like. As somebody who's not a brewer, well, talk about what your job is, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. I'm still not a brewer. I've famously.
And you're not a brewery owner still.
Still the case. Yeah. Whoops. Sorry. So yeah, how I got my job specifically at Half Acre is I said, like, I'm not a brewer. You don't got to worry about me like trying to, be a Siebel grad who's coming in here trying to be the head brewer of this company, which probably got me my job. But then every time there was a brewery opening, or a brewer position opening at the brewery, I was very much passed over for that. So, so anyways, since June, have been working at Yakima Chief Hops as the regional sales manager for the Central United States. So this year I've been to probably 200 breweries throughout the U.S., and my job is to help supply hops to breweries.
What have you learned? Like, what have you learned about the industry at large? Not about like selling hops necessarily, which I'm sure you've learned a lot about that, but like going to so many of these places that you probably would not have gone to necessarily, or certainly, like known people from. Like, what have you learned going to all these places?
I've learned a lot. I learned that there's a lot that's changed in the industry, obviously, over the past, like, probably 4 years. I'd say, like, if you want to say, like, 2018, 2019 was the peak, and maybe it was, like, the peak for hop usage. Things have kind of steadily been declining as the overall market's been declining. But I also think it's presented an opportunity for new breweries to kind of rise through the ranks and really make a name for themselves in markets that you wouldn't necessarily think would be beer, big beer markets. I've seen there be some pretty exciting and thriving beer scenes in places that I never would have thought much about, just out of ignorance, honestly. So one of the first trips I went on in this role was to Dallas, and there's a very thriving beer scene there going on that I had no idea about. And it's a really cool community. And I think it's something I don't really, I saw it last Friday at the Vibes Brew Day, but the community aspect, I don't think I necessarily see all that often in Chicago anymore because it's a more established like beer market. But, and some breweries making really good beer and making like,
and a lot of it, you said.
Yeah, exactly. A lot more beer than you would really think. I don't know that there's too many breweries that are opening up in Chicagoland that are going to go from like 0 to 5, 6, 7,000 barrels, and you're seeing that in places like in Dallas, breweries doing that. Places like Omaha, all over the place. It's kind of cool.
When you first mentioned that to me, I thought that was really cool and a really good sign for just the beer industry overall, that there's craft breweries that are, selling a lot of beer locally.
Yeah.
Obviously that probably puts pressures on some of the regional players that was what was happening here like 10 years ago, that there were some regional people who didn't have to try too hard, maybe didn't have to go to Oklahoma or wherever you were saying, and probably now they do, and good for them. They should have to try to compete and stuff like that. So that's really cool. 200 breweries you've been to, and how long?
6 months.
Wow, that's insane.
It's been a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just what are we drinking here, sir? 130.
I think it's
something?
George T. Stagg that Serge decided
He was just crying. We're not drinking anything.
Yeah.
or
Yeah. He just loved it so much that he was at 200 breweries in 6 months.
yeah, it really warms my heart.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm very interested to learn more about
Me too.
that
Yeah.
job.
It frankly also made me realize like every brewery is different. Every brewery situation is different. Some are very healthy and some are really struggling. And
You can tell like just
No. It's more like someone will say like, hey, this is why we're in XYZ situation. They're not like, I'm not walking in there and be like, oh, this place is screwed.
Let me see your books. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the TTB going in there asking for taxes.
Right.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many episodes of the Zombie Dust Radio Hour did your new employers listen to before they hired you?
I mean, if they could find it, that's the tricky part.
You don't think they have the 7 inches?
I forgot about those private presses.
Yeah.
We did them unlabeled, so that probably helps. But
Yeah. I'm like putting on a random unlabeled 7-inch of a podcast.
classic.
how it's meant to be heard.
Right.
Exactly.
The authentic way, the way our grandfathers.
Our fathers and forefathers.
I mean, they were on 78s back then.
Yeah,
but
right.
Still.
It's got
That's a
a
good
it's
point.
got a warm sound to it.
Right.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to answer the second question you asked, Chris, about like a beer I've had recently that I really enjoyed, I'm going to go back a few months. So,
okay.
So long story short, breweries head out to Yakima Valley every year to select hops that they're going to brew it the following year. So I was out there for 3 weeks, meeting customers, hanging out, helping people select their hops that they're putting into their beers. And one day my coworkers were like, hey, we're going to this bar that's going to have 3 fresh hop beers. And I was like, that sounds cool.
That's awesome.
Why not go try it out? It's like one of the only places in the world where you can try like, really good Citra and Mosaic and, Columbus, bunch of other beers.
Floyd's Tap Room. Wait, what? Where? I lost.
So, there's a lot of, if you've had like a really fresh hopped beer with like more sort of like Pacific Northwest varieties, nothing else tastes like that,
Well, and also, so I think people who are listening to the show know what wet hop and fresh hop beers are, but I would imagine that it's probably just on a different level when you are in like Yakima having fresh hop beers, because they're probably were on the plant like hours before they were
right.
in the
Exactly.
beer,
Yeah,
which is amazing.
And that's why I was kind of bringing it up. Is like you're not going to get access to those varieties because those don't really grow as well anywhere else in the world but in the Pacific Northwest. So having access, all those breweries out there will go to a farm, pick up the hops, and they are in a beer a few hours later. So anyways, we went to a bar called the Spur Tavern, and it was this really unassuming place. It's where a lot of like hop growers and people that work on the farms go to drink after work and whatnot. And Varietal, which is in Sunnyside, Washington, had their West Coast IPA, and it was fresh hopped with Columbus, which is like probably the hop I've learned the most about this year, or I would say like rediscovered this year. And it was just like the most unique green, dank, fresh green flavor I've ever had in a beer. I think when I pictured what like a fresh hop beer tasted like, I finally like got there. And I found out that they have like a hop chopper that they do that like just kind of cuts the hop up a little bit before it goes, and they like throw it, and they keg condition it with the hops on it. So it was just like extremely fresh.
And what beer was that?
Twine Climber, I believe. From Varietal.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was like
We won't be hearing about that
No, we won't.
again
No,
in
no.
a moment. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Just checking.
Correct. But that I for one, I like there's like 3 or 4 breweries out in the Yakima area that are very well known for hops. Obviously, there's not a better paradise of having access to those ingredients as that region. So to have that beer
That's
was a very memorable experience. So
Do you think it's worth for a non like work trip, and by that I mean like a brewer or something like that, to go to that part of the country for beer?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because that's something I've thought about. Like, would it be worth it for me or any other kind of like beer? I don't know. Vacation, not beer vacation, but you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
Beer trip, something like that.
So I will say I was planning to go to Oktoberfest this year in Germany, and then found out that it's always going to
Wimped out.
overlap with Harvest.
Oh,
So-
right, forever.
So you're never going again.
Unlikely to go. But every year after Harvest in Yakima, there is a fresh hop ale festival.
Ooh.
Pardon me. So obviously anyone can buy a ticket to that, and it's going to only, I think it's like 50 breweries send beer, and they're only fresh hop beers. And I think if you're looking to do a beer trip, it would definitely be something to consider.
All right. Well, thanks. Note taken.
Yep.
Well, this is the end of the year show. Should we start getting into the end of the year part of the show. It's only been 40 minutes. And the thing about us is we listen to constructive criticism and we take it earnestly. So when the North American Guild said that we ramble too much in the beginning, we said...
You're welcome.
By earnestly, you mean defiantly, where we're going to do it harder.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to ramble even harder.
We would have gone at least 41 minutes before.
Yeah, right.
So why don't we take a quick break? I'm saying that mostly because I want to get Trippa, and then we'll come back and start the portion of the show. All right, talk to you.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Beer Temple Podcast, the year-end show with Chris
big
Quinn
one.
and your boy, Eric. Of long time of Yakima Chief Hops.
One of the OGs.
Yeah,
Friend of the pod.
I think he grew the first rhizome.
Long time hop guy.
Long time hop lover,
What
first
can I
time
say?
hop seller.
Yep.
Big hop guy. Dude.
I was at, honestly, I was at a local brewery I used to work at in Chicago over the weekend, right after I was
Wow,
watching,
really narrowed it down.
watching Mike, just right up the street from where Mike was messing up his beer.
The beer tastes great.
I'm sure it does. That's what you want to call it. But. And I had a beer with weed terpenes, which I know they're not the first ones to do it, but I just can't imagine having, like, if you would have told me in 2008, like, dude, you know what? You're going to have beer that has weed, like, byproduct. I don't even know what terpenes are, honestly. But, it's going to taste like weed so much that you're going to think you're getting high. Like, that sounds like the coolest beer ever.
Yeah. So you did like it?
I loved it.
I had a terpene beer. So, Sweetwater did that a while ago.
Yeah.
And when the beer was being poured, we only did it once on draft. People thought people were smoking in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just when it was being poured, it was so pungent. It was kind of like too pungent.
Sure.
But I had one at Fatheads. Did not like it. Didn't finish it. Had like 2 sips and was like, you know what? I need to save my sobriety. I only have so much here. They didn't quite get it, but I was like, just all right. But I didn't like it. I was surprised.
Huh.
I guess.
There's different kinds of terpenes. I don't know a lot about it. I know that a brewery I worked at in the suburbs a few years ago also made one called Herbosaurus, I believe. And that beer was also really good.
Sure?
Really
I don't
liked
know.
it.
Probably. I don't know. That's like a punny name. I don't think most breweries use punny names for beers.
Especially not for hoppy beers.
Yeah. Terposaurus it was called?
This was like not even
Terpzilla, I think.
ago,
Terpzilla.
I remember.
King Bong versus Terpzilla.
That's pretty
I think
good.
there's a time and place for
That's
it.
pretty good.
Especially maybe in April. You get my drift?
Oh, yeah. Late April, mid-April.
April Fools.
Yeah, that's right. April Fools.
Right after the St. Patty's Day rush.
So let's get down to it. This is why we're here. Will Yakima Chief sponsor this show in 2025?
We'll talk about it after the episode.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take that as a
Sounds like an
yes.
ask your mother type answer.
Yeah.
Officially sponsored by
Yeah. Okay.
Eric.
So we do this every year. And we're going to start out with our beers of the year. Mm-hmm. This is very important. I think about this. I mean, January 1, I am laser focused until December 17th, I guess.
Every year.
Every year. What is my beer of the year? Now, it can be your beer of the year for any reason you want. And I've had different reasons for my beers of the year. Sometimes it's the beer I like that tasted the best. Sometimes one I thought was the most meaningful. So it can be for any reason, but you have to explain why it's your beer of the year and why this year is the year it's the beer of the year. So why don't you kick it off for us, Mike? What was the 2025
For me, it
beer
was
of the year?
Timbo Pills.
Timbo
from Highland Park
Pills.
Brewing Company.
I had one last year with you.
Me, yeah.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite beers. It's a beautiful, unique beer. so it could be my beer of the year any year, but this year specifically.
Yeah, why this year?
Highland Park won 4 gold medals at GABF. They were like best small brewery or best like brewery between, like, I don't even remember exactly which one, but they won one of those best, maybe best overall.
They won best overall too.
And specifically Timbo won, which is made with lager yeast, fermented at like a little bit warmer than typical lager temperatures, but still cold.
And they call it, it's like the
West Coast
original West Coast Pills, right?
So it's like, I don't know how much we need to get into the beer, but it's split. It's kind of a split recipe where it's like kind of half a Pilsner and half an IPA, where
It's
they
like a cold IPA.
but West Coast Pill is a little leaner, a little lower gravity.
Got
But
it.
that all that aside,
So it's like a session IPA.
it's a beer made with a lager yeast that won the pale ale category.
Yes, we talked about it.
So, I've long been someone who doesn't give a whit for style definitions, but you know who does? GABF
The
does.
BA.
And so, just this idea that you can make these beers with anything at this point, and no one really cares that it's made with a lager yeast. They specifically, they're like, we don't treat these like it's a lager. It's fermented cold, but we turn these around in 3 weeks. They're not lagered. And just that American craft beer has evolved to a point so much where something that is definitionally not a pale ale, if by the strictest sense of what an ale is the most exemplary style of what we think of when we think of pale ale.
Not passable. The exemplary version of that style of an American pale ale, and by that I mean lager.
Right. And so I just thought that's like a really interesting, cool thing. I'm sure there's been other categories where things like that have happened. There was a notorious one at Fobab where some guy like entered a category for Brettanomyces. Like, there isn't even Brettanomyces in the beer. Haha, gotcha. It's like, okay, whatever, dude.
That guy sucked. That was so lame.
That was really lame. But like, this is the first time that I can recall where something as competitive or as important or as foundational as pale ale has been won by something that is just categorically would not necessarily be considered that when you look at the branding of it or the marketing of it or the production of it. Maybe you could make an argument that Pivo did that because of, like, dry hopping is such an outlier for how people were making Pilsners and became such a thing. But
for this year, it was Timbo.
This year it's Timbo, yeah.
Solid choice.
Thank you.
I dig it. Would you like to go next, Eric? Or
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Well, there's 2 beers I kind of want to talk about.
Okay.
One of them, also a gold medal winner,
Okay.
called Allagash White.
Oh.
Yes, finally. It's finally their year, dude.
Finally it won. So we kind of joke that every year that it doesn't win or Fatheads doesn't win, it's kind of
Doesn't
like,
count.
I guess, a practice year. It's like
the
a
do-over.
furlough year.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess Timbo didn't really win.
It's like when the Dodgers won the World Series during the COVID year. It didn't count.
Right. Doesn't count. So Allagash White.
Yeah. My favorite beer, end of story. But so when I go to a bar, I look for 2 beers, and that list has changed this year for the first time in a long time.
So can I guess what it used to be?
Yes.
I'm pretty certain, just because I know you, what those 2 are. But no, the 2 beers are Allagash White and Bell's Two Hearted.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
it
it's
changed.
Correct answers.
It changed this year.
Whoa.
Now it's Twine Climber
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
St. Arnold.
My beer that I was literally drinking one on Friday after talking to Mike, and also drinking a terpene beer, and a beer that has really risen up the ranks for me, and that is Maplewood Son of Juice.
Got it.
I think it is the best hazy beer that I can recall, and I enjoy it and I get excited every time I have it. And I've had it very fresh, and I've had it not as fresh, and it knocks it out of the park every time. And
That's huge.
I'm really stoked on it. I would go to the bar after softball every week to Wild Goose in its old location. And I would have an Allagash White, and I would drink a Son of Juice. And I
Enjoyed both. Very much.
enjoyed both, and they were like, it was like the highlight of my night after playing softball, which is like my favorite thing to do in the summertime. So
I've certainly had hazy beers that hit higher points when they're like really killing it. But I do have to say, I think that's the most consistent
Sure.
and most
Yeah.
bulletproof of the ones that I've interacted with. Like, I'm sure you could say something like Hazy Voodoo Ranger or Hazy Little Thing or something are probably very consistent and
Oh,
bulletproof. But
you know what? Hazy Little Thing is also like my airport beer now that I'm like a little bit been spending more time in airports. I've been texting a friend of mine at Hot Butcher every time I'm at an airport when I see that tap handle, because that's become my reliable airport beer of choice. But if I'm in a Chicago bar and they have Son of Juice, I know where I'm going.
yeah.
Nice.
I don't have any like soliloquy on the overall beer industry the way that our much more articulate host.
So
Mike
that's your
does.
beer of the year this year is Son of Juice.
Son of Juice? Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first half of the year I didn't work in beer, and since coming back into the fold in June, it's kind of become my reliable go-to, and haven't had a bad one yet. So dig it a
Wow.
lot, and I've had a lot of hoppy beer, and I'm really grateful for that. But Son of Juice, I think, was
So now let me ask
most
you.
consistent.
You go to a bar that you trust, and they have all three of those of the beers.
Mm-hmm.
What order do you think you're getting them in? If let's say you have three beers, how are you ordering? Do you think you don't have to do all three?
Sure. I'm probably gonna do two Allagash Whites and then one Son of Juice. Honestly,
Got it.
yeah,
Two Hards all the
Got
way
it.
out.
Wow.
I think so. Yeah,
Wow.
And it's
Too many alcohols.
it's more like I feel like I haven't had a fresh one in a long time, and they Sorry, I don't mean to go off on a whole tangent. They changed their date coding now it's like Best Buy versus
Right.
Bell's Two Hearted, rather than like Born on Date. Now it's Best Buy. I'm like, I don't even know where this was made. I don't know when it was packaged. I kind of care about that a little bit. I don't think of myself as a beer snob, but
I think
I do
that
like to know.
coincided with them getting bought out.
It's a more recent change. I don't know for sure.
The date coding thing is, but do you
Yeah.
think them changing the way it tastes or the date or the
I don't know that they've changed the
Take
beer at
some
all.
shots. No?
Honestly, I'm not taking any shots. I'm just saying like that was like it made it more of a guessing game, and I was like, well, this
Just one more thing,
this could be old. I know when the Son of Juice is from. I likely know where it was brewed as well, which I really appreciate. Shout out to the homies downstate. So it's been really consistent, and I'm always a fan. Or I've always been a fan, but this year I think it's like really become my go-to local beer.
All right. Well, there you go. For me, my beer of the year, I think it's been leaked by a couple months ago, because this has been one for me since early in the year. So, which doesn't usually happen, where it's just like, oh man, beer of the year contender, and then nothing really touches it.
Headhunter?
Headhunter. Yep, it was Headhunter. No, it was.
Pip my wife.
It was yeah. It was the brand, the whole brand extension of the Pimp My series.
Yeah.
They've really done some innovative things, mostly with label design and the Firestone Walker XPA for me was the beer of the year, the beer that I just wanted to have whenever I saw it, and also a style that I felt, the American Pale Ale, I think, when done the way I like it, I guess, is probably the beer I'm going to drink the most of. Like, will it hit the highs of like a good IPA? No, but those are going to be at like 7.5%, So if you can come in at like mid fives, I think that's a really sweet spot for where I think this maturing craft beer market is going. And I think this XPA we've talked in years past about how, beers need they need to be like rebranded, and their styles, their names need to be changed. Amber needs to be called something else, and maybe mild or bitter needs to be called pub ale or whatever. And I think XPA is a real, now, though that's a specific type of American pale ale, but who knows? Maybe that'll change too. And I think that's just a good, just a good rebranding or sub-style of an APA. And I'd like to see them. There have been a lot more of them made. Some good, some better than others, I guess I should say. Firestone's was exceptionally good. I think it was really, really, really good. I think it's coming back in their mixed 12 next year. I don't know
It's
if
not coming back like on its own.
So let's talk about that. What do you guys think? It went from a seasonal to a year-round in a 12-pack variety. Is that a promotion, a demotion, or a lateral move? What do you think, Eric?
I think the can looks really cool, which is what I was looking up just now.
Yeah, golden with the blue lettering and.
Yep. I was learning that it has
It's like liquid death colors.
Nelson Sauvin in it
Yep.
and Mosaic.
Crazy that
Yep.
Chris liked that.
Mosaic Cryo. And some other hops, which is really cool to learn about. Now, the question you asked, do I think it's a demotion that it's in the variety pack?
Demotion, promotion. For a beer to go from a beer like, like a brewery like Firestone Walker to take a beer that was released 1 year, I think, as a seasonal. It was a seasonal, but one of their shorter seasonals. You know how like some of those bigger breweries have like some seasonals that last like 3 months and other ones that last like 6 weeks or something like that. So it went as like a smaller seasonal to a year-round their IPA variety pack, which also I was looking at it, like hits pretty hard, that variety pack. But is that a promotion, a demotion, or a lateral move? I'm not sure I've made up my mind.
Yeah.
Are we talking about like for us individually as consumers, or for like that beer? Because for me, that's just like a obliteration. I'm never buying a multi-pack of anything ever. Like,
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Once you say that, I have something else I'm going to add to it that is, I don't know, but is like a possibility.
more people might drink that beer because it's available at a longer time frame and with other beers that they might like.
Yep.
But
Here's the difference, and here's where my very uneducated opinion on this would be. I think that it is a promotion because more people are going to get to try it, and it also opens the door for them to bring it back the next year as a standalone after the fact.
Here's the other thing I was thinking.
Sorry.
Sorry. Go.
No,
No, I
sorry.
want you to finish first.
Where I was going to kind of turn the corner on there was when people buy a mix pack like that, they're buying a Firestone Walker mix pack. They're not buying, an IPA pack or whatever. They're intentionally being like, okay, I know Firestone Walker makes really good beer. I'm gonna buy these 12 because I'm gonna have the variety of options from them because I trust, Union Jack's gonna be dope or whatever. So personally, I don't think most consumers know or care about what an extra pale ale is. And I think that's probably why it got moved into that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're going to expose it to a larger audience.
Yeah.
They're going to try it in their mixed pack, and they're going to see the value of it. They're going to see why it's good, and then next year they'll maybe re-roll it back out in the larger format.
I think it might also be confusing to people, like lay people, but like people that aren't into beer and be like, what does that mean when they see XPA or extra pale ale? We've trained consumers for so long to be like, all these things, whenever we add anything to anything, it means more, right? It means more alcohol. It means we added more hops. This one extra means it's drier, like it's lower ABV tend to be.
I guess I don't know.
So it
or
might be
it's just like to me, it's just like a dry Southern Hemisphere hopped pale ale that just they're calling it XBA because X is extreme.
Right, but people think that means more. People think that means like 10% ABV.
Perhaps.
So I wonder if it'll be confusing.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it's the dumb. I mean, no offense to anybody. It's like the hardest style to sell because
Tuna.
of exactly that. Yeah, tuna. Like, there's been a whole lot of beers that have been marketed as extra pale ales that no one cares about because they expect more out of it. So then you call it like a session IPA as an example, and people expect better value out of it. And I just think it's like kind of a losing battle. Personally, I feel like call it a pale ale,
Sure.
or American pale ale, you'll be in a better spot. But it's just a challenging thing. It's hard to talk about it here because like I think most people listening to this podcast know what that is. But
Right.
But
I'm also
here's
not trying to
one
demean
thing
the
I will
audience.
say that because I think without this little caveat that I'm going to put in there, to me it's maybe a demotion. But I was thinking, well, it means they are going to be making it year round, which means they can also put it in draft, not in a mix pack year round as well. So it's going to have a bigger draft presence potentially. They could say no, we don't sell in draft, but I think that could be a positive too, because then you could have it on draft as well, and then also in, it stinks that you can't just get a 6-pack of it, but anyhow.
It may make more sense as a draft beer too. Like I think we're seeing a lot of consumer behavior splitting, but a lot of what people take home is higher ABV stuff, and a lot of what they drink out at the bar is lower ABV stuff. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll see it be ascendant in draft.
Yes. All right, moving on. We had the beer of the year. Now it's time for the story of the year. What was the 2024 beer story of the year, Mike?
For me, I think it's not a singular story. It's more just a bunch of stuff that happened, which is like big beers near complete divestment for the most part of most craft brands, either entirely by selling them to Tilray or by symbolic things of firing the entire innovation team at 10 Barrel, where one is that they are literally just do not care about the brands so far that they will just sell them to someone else and don't want to deal with them at all, and one is more of a like philosophical,
Still literally don't care.
a philosophical idea of like what people of our generation think of craft beer as being innovative and thoughtful and like pushing new ideas, whatever that might mean to you. Them being like, we're taking one of the most recognized groups of people in this entire industry for that, and we're getting rid of all of them.
Right. The program is gone.
So both divesting of the brands themselves and of the idea of what we bond to as consumers of it. Obviously, recently we saw that they, Miller bought Cruz Blanca, but like that's a very, very unique circumstance compared to what has been happening at large. The only like major brands that are owned by, or only major craft brands that are owned by big beer brands anymore are ones that they'd already established that are now being used basically to sell hoppier widgets or hoppier juice. They're not trying to understand craft beer anymore. They're not trying to pander to it. They just don't care. They have their brands that for the people that are extremely casual consumers are craft enough.
Do you think that's reactionary? Do you think that's like reactionary to the perception of the normal like craft beer consumer? I think about like last year's Bud Light backlash, and I wonder if they saw like read some tea leaves and were like, you know what, only snooty people drink craft beer, and we don't want to appeal to snooty people, so we're gonna move away from craft beer because we want to go for the more common man or common person beer drinker.
I think it's maybe, but I think it's more that the idea the idea to them of the plurality of craft beer and that there should be a lot of craft breweries and a lot of options for people, and that they want to have multiple craft options for people is not economically as robust as like they're just we're gonna have one.
I don't think it comes even that far. I think there is a little bit of like an organic pushback to that, and people just like to make fun of snooty jerk like
10 Barrel making pumpkin.
Yeah.
Gozo or whatever it was,
but
barrel-aged pumpkin beer.
But I do think that there is a collective movement by big beer and the big distributors, like the big ones, like Reyes and stuff like that, to squeeze.
Streamline.
Yes, and I think they're trying to squeeze into the set. I mean, from the very first year I ever did this podcast, I said if Big Beer has their way, they want to control the sets. They want to give you the illusion of enough options as just enough and no more. And I think now they're feeling more and more confident that they can pare down those options. They're not worried. They've kind of eliminated the major threat of something coming from craft. And I'm seeing it at the distributor level. It's like, big beers or big distributors like care for the nuances of a shop like us or a bar like us is lower than it ever has been in our history of this company. The overall, just beyond us, what they're trying to do is essentially go back to where they're using, I think, manpower and technology to basically just eliminate choice and make it easier for them. So they all have these online ordering systems now, or many of them do. The big ones do. And it's just so obvious that they're just pushing all of the accounts to them. Many accounts already have to just put in all their orders online. They're saving money on the reps. The reps are just there to take on big old orders or maybe try to sell you on case stacks or end caps and stuff like that. And below that, they don't care. And you're only going to be doing an end cap of a certain beer anyway. And now, so CBS, Reyes, has gotten rid of allocations online. So you order online, there are no allocations. And for an allocation, for someone out there who may not know, it's like a brewery or a distributor, usually the two combined, will decide if there's a limited amount of a certain beer or a certain wine or a certain spirit, who gets how much, right? And I'm sure there's some art and some science into figuring that out. And this system now is saying there is no allocations anymore. So just because we don't feel like it's worth having to put any work into it. So if it's main dinner and you get in there, you take all of it. Take it all. Take all the main dinner. Take every keg, every case. That's going to work out really well. So what I've told my guys is we're going to get screwed over. And when you're not getting screwed over, there's no point in being the good guy. If anything, you take all of it, and then you act as the allocator and say, I will give some back, and you have to call your friend, like people you know who own other bars or shops, and be like, all right, put it in. I will like send some of it back or something. I don't even know. I said to my buyers, I said, we're going to have to break it until they realize this thing's broken and it's not going to work. And it's unreal, and I think it worked. It's very much in line with their just total divestment and just utterly not even pretending that they're trying to service this part of
Right.
the industry. Because you know what you don't need to allocate? Bud Light, Modelo. But you don't need to allocate that, and that's all they want to do. And they're making it harder and harder and harder to own a business that doesn't just do that.
Right.
And that's just how it is.
Right. And like the knee-jerk reaction is like, well, then just don't buy that stuff from them. But like you can't do that, right? Like if you want to have like a really robust selection, like there's plenty of places where like in other realms where you can be like, well, we're going to be a market that only sells Midwestern things directly from farmers or something, right? And you could be like, well, we're only going to sell self-distributed breweries or breweries that like but you can't
Right.
really do that and get the full spectrum of beer, right?
For example, Maine
Right.
was brought on by Windy City many years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Who's now been acquired by CBS.
Right.
CBS now has the rights to Maine.
Right.
So, tough shit, Maine.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it.
Right.
Like,
Franchise
they have,
state.
it's a franchise state. Maine cannot get out of it unless they pay
Exorbitant.
more money. So it makes sense for them to leave Chicago altogether
rather
than to leave CBS.
They're not
Right.
thinking of doing that though, right?
No, I have no idea. I'm just
Right, but
using
just-
Maine as an example of someone who would have an allocation and who is with this distributor.
Yeah.
And nothing more. There's nothing else. There's no actual, like those scenarios I just mentioned have not happened. So I want to put that out there. I know I say things here and people get upset at times.
Right.
But
Well, that
yeah.
was just like an example. I
Yeah.
knew it was an example. I just want to make it clear. That
Yeah,
they're-
thank you.
Yeah.
Piggybacking on that, spending some time with some distributor friends, putting on a festival in 2018. I remember we brought in all these beers in to a distributor for this festival, and it was such a pain to get it all figured out. This was 6 years ago, over 6 years ago. And I was like, man, this is such an awesome experience that we're able to bring this beer to Chicago. And they said, it's not for us. I'm like, why? You guys are making your margin off of this. Like, what are you so upset about? They're like, well, we're not set up to sell one of a million different things. We're set up to sell a million of one thing. And that's kind of really, I think, echoed out, 6 years later. They're saying no to LTOs from breweries. They're saying, you know what?
Limited time offering, LTO.
Yeah. Oh, you guys want to send in your 4 core beers and you want to send in 3 quarterly beers and then you want to send in like a monthly beer? Like, no, we'll take 3 cores. We'll take 2 quarterly beers and 1 or 2 specialties, and that's it. We don't want to waste our time with the other stuff. So what that does ultimately is it gives the people who are buying beer from your store less access to beer that they might want to try.
Right. And these distributors have a chokehold on these.
And they're playing.
Yeah.
Personally, it does seem like they have their suppliers that they give preferential treatment to, and then the rest
Totally.
of the breweries get kind of lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And kind of have to get choked out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think that the job of a brewery or distributor sales rep used to be to go into a bar, assess the situation, and see what you could sell depending on where you were at. And there was some finesse to that. And now it's just like, yeah, what do you want? Or if you even see somebody.
Sure.
I think that there's like a little bit of an art to that.
Yeah, now they just won't send anyone in. They say, just order it through Provi. That's good for you. So, I mean, that's just what they say. And, the reality is, that's how I feel. Sometimes people get upset when I say things like that. But my response is, if you're from a distributor, then come on the podcast. You know what? Come on any podcast. Come on any podcast then. Or
They won't. They don't exist.
Or don't. Because you're so confident in being in you're adding value all the time. They do add value. There's no doubt.
Yes.
It's very
As
hard
logistics companies.
to get into every single 7-Eleven is difficult to do. And I can imagine you wanting to get one thing into 1 million 7-Elevens. That is value add. But they want to do it all, and they want to kind of control it. So they're not set up to do it, but they still want the control over. They still want to prevent other people from doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So buying the rights and kind of just that's not worth it to us.
And the economics
we'll
of it.
buy it. You're gonna take the pallet. We'll bring it in. Will you take a pallet? I've had distributors say that to me like flippantly, and be like, "Thanks, dude. That's cool." So you'll do nothing. You'll do nothing other than order it, charge me, and deliver it along with other stuff I've ordered anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
They don't even have to unwrap the pallet. Pretty nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. Do I get a discount for that? You know?
You actually get a premium
Right, exactly.
charged extra for that and having to find it.
Exactly. So, I'm with you. It's as frustrating as it's been. Yeah, I mean, more frustrating when they didn't understand date coding or knew that they could get away with it. They understood it. They just could get away with it.
Yeah. Well, that might lead into what you said your story is.
Yeah.
Them not caring about these things.
Well, I mean, that was my story of the year. And it wasn't, well, maybe I guess it could go through to the, I guess it's just pervasive overall, but my story of the year was apathy. I mean, so many just buyouts, acquisitions, closures, and I mean, the one thing I've heard just when talking to people in the industry and friends and customers and stuff like that, that has come up again and again is people just being like, commenting on how little of a big deal it is anymore to people.
Yeah.
Like, places close, institutions close, breweries close, breweries get bought, and now people are just like deadened to it, I think, which is not a good thing, but I think it is the truth. Like, at this point, like, what bar or brewery could close that would, like, really upset people for an extended amount of time? There are some, but they're not many.
There's probably more bars than there are breweries to me at this point. Not that sounds terrible because I have many friends who own breweries, but it would like, I don't know. We've been so numbed by how many have closed or what types of places have closed that it's hard not to be like, oh yeah, that happens. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, are we gonna mourn every one of them? Maybe we should. Maybe that would be the more human thing to do, but you gotta keep trucking.
I mean, it is a sign, though. It's a sign of the
Yeah,
times, you know,
for sure.
that this stuff happens, and they just kind of go away.
Yeah.
You know, if the Rev Brew Pub had said it was closing 5 years ago, that place would have been smashed. Like, I went there 2 days before it was going to close, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to get in. And I was like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, it's 2024. I forgot.
Yeah.
And I got in, and I got a seat at the bar. It was full.
Yeah.
Place was nice, very well attended. But I went in and sat at the bar.
Yeah, that one's also a little different because you can still go to the tap room. It's not the same experience, but you can still go to to a place owned by that brewery and have the beers at the source, and which genuinely is even more of the source at this point. The ambiance is very different. The history is very different. But that's one that's still, like, it lives on in some form.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ones that are just gone. You
Yeah,
know?
Temperance, just recently closed.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it up there before they closed.
No.
And it's just kind of, we were talking about Cruz Blanca getting bought out and people just being like, if anything, being like, oh, okay.
Like, I remember I listened to another podcast where they recount, like, history, and people talk. One of them was about Elysian getting bought out, and people would
Yes.
go in, order beers, and dump them on the floor because they were so upset that they got bought out. and now Cruz Blanca gets bought out, and we're like, oh yeah, the writing was on the wall. They had been working towards this for a long time. They had been working with Miller in Texas, blah blah blah, and there's we're this very cold, rational, good for them. I love them, but I'm not buying their beer again because just the fundamental idea of some portion of my dollar spent on their beer goes to a company that wishes I didn't exist. So love the people who still love Jacob, but I can't buy your beer anymore. So I still feel that, but I'm not angered by them selling to. I almost didn't even call it selling out. I'm not angered by them selling out to a mega corporation, but I don't know, just you see, you kind of harden, or you get calluses seeing things that you care about be bought by entities that you dislike, or who you fundamentally agree with how they operate in the world.
Yeah.
Disagree with how they operate.
All right,
Disagree
Eric.
with how they operate.
No,
Bring
really,
us back up.
Really, I was just wondering, how many pages do you think Josh Noel's book about the purchase of Cruz Blanca is going to be?
17.
Did he
Pamphlet.
Did he even
be a
tweet
pamphlet.
about it, or did Doug break that news?
Yeah, it's a tweet. It's a 250 character
Well, he
tweet.
works for the purchasing company.
It's a
now,
Blue Sky
so-
post. Oh
That's
my gosh,
true.
I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
That's
I'm so
right.
sorry.
Well, there
I
you
did
go.
forget-
Another-
I
yeah.
sincerely forgot
Yeah.
about that. I've
That's
So he
been
probably
Right.
did. There was some communication that came out that he probably did.
He might
right.
have write the press
Yeah,
release.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There you go. There's
out to
another
Josh.
example.
Yeah.
There's another example of an acquisition.
Right.
One of the best
quieter
beer
one, but-
writing. One of the best beer writers in the nation.
Yeah.
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 Okay. What's your
Interesting.
story, dude? Let's move on. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Sorry. Totally.
Woof.
So, anyways, I spent the first half of my year not selling beer. Again, nothing to read there. But what I saw in the second half of the year was excitement about beer for the first time in a long time for a style that I never would have thought in a million years. And it was for brewers specifically, I will say that there was one specific product that people were really excited about, which was Columbus Cryo. And that was to make dank West Coast IPAs. Seeing people care about a style of beer like West Coast IPA, really, really dank, bitter beer is something that is
All
really
right.
true to my heart.
Is West Coast style IPA the best American beer style?
In my opinion,
Well, of course it's your opinion.
It's got to be close.
that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be. I would
It's-
say
it's
it's
IPA
What
the
else?
best.
What else is in
Let's
the?
say
It's the
IPA or
best.
pale ale.
Yeah.
It's one of those two. But to that point, I think.
I mean, specifically West Coast IPA too.
I mean, yeah, that's the beers that I always
Yeah.
traditionally got.
But
excited
hazies
about.
are IPAs. I mean, they are.
I like-
And
I
they're
like-
huge.
obviously, I like a lot
They're
of
big, and
hazies.
people love them. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, I like some hazies.
But there's so many sub-styles of IPA that they might as well be their own styles completely now. There's other than the taxonomical connections. But I think that people's palates are coming back around to that dankness.
Yes.
Because I remember what was it? Has to be
OG too, man.
6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me that onion garlic,
People
baby.
used to be
yeah.
so turned off by it, and now people are like, "Oh,
it's
yeah."
Hey, we got to get some Summit. Get Summit back in, baby. Let's get some serious onion and garlic.
Well, I remember it has to be 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago now. I'm getting old. When we were developing a hazy version of Ninja versus Unicorn, and we opened it. Columbus is a big hop in that beer. We had originally put Columbus Cryo in it, and we opened the Columbus Cryo, and we're like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
There's just no way that we can put this in there and people
Right.
will want to drink it.
Yep.
And partially that's probably because it was a hazy beer, so it was leaning further away from that dank thing. But
Yeah.
I doubt that the Columbus Cryo is changing all that much. I think people's
It's getting more OG intentionally.
really.
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome.
And again, I can't tell if that's just something that's being catered towards brewers that we work with that are excited for the golden days of those beers that they grew up on or got them excited. But it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
The reason I think it's the quote unquote story of the year is it also shifts or indicates a shift away from haze in a way that I think most people thought like it would never happen.
Never. It's always juicy, fruity
Right, like,
is
you're like,
the
it's
flavor
here
profile
to stay.
forever.
It's not
Yeah.
going away. Like it will never not be a thing.
Even if it
I
wasn't
think-
hazy, it was that profile
Yeah.
was here to stay. I don't know if everyone thought hazy, but that profile was what hoppy beer
Right.
was.
I
Yeah.
would guess that like we went through a nearly unprecedented growth phase, which involved a lot of confluence of things, of new hops existing, new drinkers coming into the space that bred new styles of beer faster, I think, than we'll ever see again.
And also,
And so I think now, instead of it being like, well, we're going to move into, it's going to be brewed IPA, then it's going to be the cold, then it's going to be cold IPA. What's next is like, I think it's much more going to be like this vacillation between the very dry, danker, like more aggressive things that we enjoy in IPA back to softening and sweetening. And there's going to be a pendulum that swings between those as what is in vogue and in fashion, rather than it being like this. No, now it's veering off to the left. Now it's going back right. It's going to this. It's this whole new place. It's like we've
Right.
reached peak
Right.
IPA, I think,
ooh, I don't know about that. Maybe.
or
Probably.
max IPA, where it's like we've maxed out what people can keep in their heads.
There
as what our
was
new
certainly a
IPA is.
time where you could see people like pushing new hops because like it was going to be the new Citra or the new
Yeah.
Well,
Nelson
look,
or
but
There's
like,
no
there's a certain-
Citra,
but there's a certain-
obviously.
Right. Well, there's a certain point where you're like,
Yeah.
you know what's really good at being the new Citra is just really good Citra.
Right.
Right. So like instead of it being like it has to be this new ground we're finding, it's like, well,
Right.
these things work, and maybe there'd be new stuff happening, but it's never because of all the confluence of things that were happening for a while. It probably will never be as big as those two things. The like West Coast on one side, like ultra hazy on one side. And popularity of what we think of as IPA will vacillate between, and sometimes will be at a point on that spectrum.
Can we go to the 2025 predictions? Because what you were just saying, how you think that stuff is going to kind of swing back, kind of dovetails very nicely into my 2025 prediction. And you were saying that, yeah, you thought maybe like sweetness and might be coming back, and OG
Or it will at some
flavors might be coming back. Well, I think these OG flavors, and I hadn't thought about it till right now, maybe more than some of these fruity, juicy flavors, go nicely better with some malt character. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a comeback of restrained use of crystal malt and hoppy, malty beers in 2025. I think we're going to start to see the inklings of it occurring.
Do you think you saw that this year with Celebration selling out so fast? Or do you think that was like an unallocation thing?
I don't know. I think, I think it could be maybe like a bellwether that people aren't turned off by hoppy and malty anymore.
I think there's also something that we kind of overlook because not that we're like very old people, but we've been drinking beer longer than a lot of people who have been drinking craft beer. And so we're like, crystal malt's coming back. Whereas like there's a large chunk of people who would, part of their identity would be that they're into craft beer for whom crystal malt has never been part of it.
Right.
Like, and they're not young. It's not like there's a bunch of 22-year-olds like this. There's a bunch of like probably
40-year-olds
who have just never
Yeah.
really experienced like what, I mean, maybe Two Hearted, but like what like a
Yeah,
truly like dank,
Right.
resiny crystal malt like
Furious
yeah.
and Alpha King.
right or anything from like Portland or like that.
Right,
But, like,
right.
That like that it might be
Like
it,
nugget hops.
Whereas
and
we,
stuff.
we
Yeah.
might think this is a return to something. This is it. The way I was like, oh, we're going to vacillate between these two things. This might be a completely new idea or flavor or experience for a very big chunk of people for whom craft beer is something they really think of as a big hobby for them. So like it's totally possible. it will be interesting.
The flavors are, Alpha King, when it's fresh, is amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crystal malt in that beer.
Yeah.
And it's very hoppy, and it's very OG. No, maybe not OG. Very old school is what I meant. Hop profiles.
Like I'd bet some Chinook.
Yeah, very piney.
Chinook
and I
is
think
great.
Of like, yeah.
We love
Chinook's
Chinook.
great. It's like
Yeah.
pine.
It's so good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Pine, resin, wood. So I think that the market is ready for some hoppy, malty beers, and I don't mean malt bombs or anything like that. I just mean the combination of the two working together.
I think this will probably be the purview of the smaller brewery too. Crystal malt does bring in some shelf stability issues for larger breweries, probably that need to have a longer shelf life because of how broad their distribution is.
Yeah.
But the same way the black IPA became something that like pops up because smaller breweries all are like, you know what we should do? We should make a black IPA. That I feel like the crystal malt thing will probably be the purview of smaller, like not regional, but like 5,000 barrel and under breweries will really own that more than it will be like we'll see. I guess larger breweries like Anti here probably still has crystal malt in it. It's like the biggest brewery here is probably still using a good amount of crystal malt.
Yeah, that's a pretty still very I don't know, golden beer versus like if you pour a Alpha King, it's like deep amber.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Fair.
But I'm not saying there isn't crystal malt in that, but there's just like
by the standards we set in the modern brewing era.
Yeah.
That's a malty beer.
Whoa. Yeah,
Thing.
exactly.
They probably used like Marisata or something. No, they definitely didn't. But
So that's my prediction. Who wants to go next with their prediction?
I'll say like to be like the looking back to look forward kind of predictions. Like, is glass going to be a more important thing this year and for the next few years? Maybe if there really are going to be tariffs on the importation of stuff. Aluminum is something that is already pretty heavy to penalty to import. And if it gets worse, cans are going to get so expensive.
Okay.
Now, it's not super easy just to switch over to a bottling line, right? So that could inhibit
There
this.
are a lot for sale right now.
Maheen's are coming back, baby. But, I mean, it's not impossible that we see people shifting to either glass or trying to get growlers to be a thing again because growlers are going to be really expensive.
It's interesting that you say it from that perspective because they suck. Glass sucks in a lot of ways. I'm not going to say they're heavier.
Mm-hmm.
They break. When cans break too, but when they break, they suck.
Yeah.
They're sharp and they get everywhere.
Right.
And
They can leave scars on your body for the rest of your life.
exactly as you hold up your thumb.
I've had
I've got one somewhere, too.
Well, everybody has
since
a
I was
little
4 years old.
scar. So
I opened it.
yeah, they're way more dangerous, but there is, to me, no doubt that they are cooler and feel better to drink from.
Yeah, I mean, there's something much more primal about glass versus aluminum cans. Like, there's something more fundamental. Like, they were drinking sarsaparilla in the Old West out of glass. They weren't drinking it out of tall boys. So there's something to that.
19.2s.
Yeah, 19.2 is the last 2 ounces of the sarsaparilla gets
Gather
so
around,
warm.
partner. We're going to crack this crowler.
We're
Let's
gonna-
share it.
A whole different meaning of shotgunning 19.2s.
Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe it's breweries dusting off the old Maheen because they don't want to put a special release into, 40-cent a 16-ounce can.
Right.
They're like, well, bottles are actually cheaper now. So
Wow.
that's not what they're at. That's like but it has potential for that. And I don't even know if
And for some of the breweries who have potential to do both, I'm thinking of I mentioned Dan Carey earlier. New Glarus I mean, let's just think of some of their beers. You've got Moon Man, Two Women, Fat Squirrel,
Spotted Cow
Spotted
is one
Cow.
they might be known for.
yes.
What's that one?
So,
Totally Naked,
yeah. So any of those beers,
Staghorn.
I think, except for, I don't know about Staghorn, but I know all the others are glass and
I have
can.
some in my
Staghorn is
fridge
definitely
right now.
can.
I have one.
It's can.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you walk into a store, date codes are identical. They have both options. For all of those beers, I'm grabbing glass if I'm up in Wisconsin. You're cans.
For like no, I'm
you're
doing
shaking
I'm
your
doing
head.
cans
Okay.
all day, bud.
I'm a glass guy.
I've
for
been
those.
recently
The
when I
long
buy New
necks,
Glarus, I've been buying cans.
I'm going long necks for those.
Depends. I want 2 women in a can and bottles. I'll drink a
Why?
Staghorn in the can.
So why?
I have no idea. It's
Okay.
because
That's
there's
a fair
There's an
answer. I have
emotional
no idea.
attachment
It's
to
a
when I
fair
found
answer.
that beer. They didn't put it in cans. So like my memory of drinking that is drinking it out of the bottle or pouring the
And
bottle.
why do you
into a
want
glass.
cans, Eric?
It's just easier to transport.
His outdoor,
honestly.
his
Yeah,
outdoor
yeah.
lifestyle.
Got it.
Yeah,
Your
if I'm,
outdoor
if I'm,
lifestyle.
Active
if I'm in
outdoor
Wisconsin,
lifestyle.
usually I am
You make
being
a bowl out of
outdoors,
a-
so I
okay.
can just throw an empty can easier
Pack
than
in,
I can
pack
Into the
out.
woods.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, sink it.
Got it. Okay. Really, it's just ease of use.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've ever thought about it for more than 2 seconds. Besides, like
That's okay.
it's a little bit easier. It's lighter to carry, like 2 or 3 12 packs than it is
It
of cans
is.
than it is bottles. Honestly,
Yeah, totally it is.
But
All right.
that's
there
it.
you go.
Yep.
You're
My
a High Life can guy.
No. Okay. That's not gonna okay.
No way.
Let's not be crazy,
yeah,
Chris.
that's
Come
that,
on now.
That might be where I draw the line.
Oh, okay.
A man has to have principles.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I probably, now that I think about it, for High Life, I've definitely had more bottles, and for Moon Man, definitely more cans. Like, without a question.
I've definitely had more cans of Moon Man, but I think if all things being equal, I'd rather get a can. Of it. Same with Allagash
You
White,
said a
too,
can.
by the way.
You said a can. You meant a bottle.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Moon Man, I'd rather have a can.
Yeah.
Moon Man, my memories of Moon Man actually are more drinking the cans than it
My
is.
Memories of Moon
My
Man.
memories of Moon Man.
A memoir by Mike Shalal.
My memories of Moon Man. Farmhouse.
I'm sorry.
No, we'll just
yeah.
blow through mine real quick. Mine piggybacked off Mike, and I inputted mine on the sheet earlier, so Mike probably copied off me. But
That's not true. You changed yours.
No, this one's always been the same, and
That's not true.
how dare you even say that? My prediction would be that because of these potential tariffs, is that there will be a lot of companies that own import brands that will brew those beers in America to have them be cheaper.
The Cruz Blancification of beer, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be shocked to see, you name it, whether it be like a Mexican lager brewer or someone from wherever that says we can't have our beer being even more expensive on the shelf, so we'll make it. We'll find somewhere in America to brew it for now. I don't know what I really do think that if these tariffs actually come into place, that there's going to be that equilibrium of what people are willing to spend money on. It's always shocking to me how much people spend on Modelo.
But there's
Right.
also
is Modelo just
yeah,
going to eat?
it is
maybe
expensive.
eat some of it.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be that much more expensive to make Modelo.
But who's
right?
eating? Who's eating that?
Right. With
Like
the-
you're
the
talking. Oh,
producer.
hey, distributor. We just talked about earlier. Hey, can you guys take a little bit less because we are getting it's costing the consumers more. You think they're gonna be like, oh yeah, you're right, guys. We're gonna take a little bit less
No,
money, and we're gonna
it
because
would-
we're doing less work now that we have
it
all
would-
these automated
right.
sales
It's
reps.
okay.
No
We use
flipping
Proby now.
way.
We've made
No,
so
it would
much.
have- it
We're
would have
so
to
much more
be-
profitable.
It would have to be
we'll
the
share.
producer probably dropping the price or the importer eating the importation.
I have a
taxes.
third option.
Yeah.
Consumer paying more.
No, I know.
Where's the line on Modelo,
That's what
though?
I'm
It's
saying.
already so
exactly,
high.
Exactly.
It's number one. It's number one.
We're number one.
Yeah.
We're
So
number
like,
one.
it ain't high enough. Like it's
there
not hurting
has
them.
to be
It's but
a
like,
line.
Yeah, when do people? Because
$30
right now people buy it.
No,
$12
there does have
people
to be
buy
a
it
line.
and
There
don't
does
look
have to
at
be a
it.
line.
But like when it's like when it's $30 for a 12 pack of
Sure.
Modelo,
Yeah.
are people just gonna be like run it back?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
or,
know.
Or
But
if
it's
it,
number
or if the
one.
can says like actually made XYZ spot like.
Well, that's
Fairfield,
screwed over like
California.
Beck's. Beck's like I don't think recovered from that when it started being made in St. Louis. But
do you think there's a? I think there's a different. Do you think there's the same like idea with Beck's where like
No.
beer made there is
No.
of higher quality? Do you think that's the case with
yeah,
Mexican
no, I think that's a
lager?
legit point. I also think that these tariffs don't actually have to be implemented, because once the thought process on all this stuff starts, that might be all it takes, because then they could be like, even without the tariffs, maybe this is worth doing.
That's also
Well, grocery prices are coming down. He said so. So
no, but
Oh.
that also
Well,
kind
there
of
you go.
informed that being a prediction for next year is like
Yeah.
whether or not that becomes a
Yeah.
reality. It's like, oh yeah, well, a brewery just bought a brewery in Asia just bought like a massive facility up in the Madison area.
Right.
Interesting. I think that you name it, you look at it, like there's definitely options that people are having for having to
These
skirt.
hedges almost. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, if it came down to it, like how could we actually skirt a tariff and make our beer not insane on the shelf? Like there's options. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but who knows? And who knows if it'll ever get any like coverage ever.
just buy more American-made products like hops.
Right, exactly. Hops
That'll
made
fix it.
right
Yeah.
Buy American-grown hops.
from and also from the Pacific Northwest.
Oh.
That from a company that is owned by the people growing the hops. What a concept! How neat.
Love it.
Love it. Well, there we go. Your year has been reviewed, everybody. I hope you like it. We owe you guys some letters, so we'll be getting to that. But you got to send them. We can't read them unless you send us letters.
I thought you were saying we were going to write them thank you notes for
Oh, Christmas cards.
letters. Yeah.
Christmas cards.
We should send a Christmas
We've
card.
never gotten a Christmas card.
That's pretty
I'm
rude.
saying that, but I think it's true. We've never gotten a Christmas card. Never. The podcast has never gotten a little family portrait of somebody.
Not once. A little write-up about what everyone's been doing last year.
No,
That's rude.
it is rude.
When does this air?
I don't know.
January 7th, probably.
Yeah, probably something like that. January 6th. Yes. So, insiders at craftbeertemple.com is where you can send electronic versions of your letters, or you can send actual versions of your letters to the Beer Temple. We're at 3173 North Elston Avenue in Chicago, 60618. All that's in the show notes. So appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys. And thanks for everything this year. We've had some fun shows this year. Very nice to have a smaller crew for our end of year. Actually talking to Eric rather than just...
What's your take? Move on.
Yeah. What's your take? Move on.
Take-
Or also
we've
like...
become a real take factory.
Remember that time, like, he's so big into, like, AI. He's such, like, a
Oh,
forward
yeah.
thinker when he just sent in the AI bot to
Yeah.
do everything for him.
That
And he
was
thought we
cr-
didn't. He was like, "Oh,
thought we
guys,
wouldn't notice."
Yeah, I'm gonna Skype in, guys.
What is up?
I'm
It
gonna
is your
Zoom."
boy.
Like,
I mean,
Eric, that's totally not you, man.
It took 45
What
minutes
up?
for me to
It's
know.
your boy. Oh, maybe it is Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you out there? We're out here.
We out here. Oh, I guess it's Eric.
We are out here.
Yeah, but we figured it out.
Lost in
We
space.
sussed it out eventually.
We got it.
That was
Yeah.
my favorite episode to be a part of. Via
Now that I
Zoom.
believe. Now that I believe.
believe, yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here in person, taking time off
When
your
does the-
busy schedule.
Yeah, when does the draft start? Is that the second part of the
yeah.
Yeah, but
We're
we
going
got
full Rogan
we got,
the next half.
We
is
got Nate
3-hour
Max
draft.
coming.
Yeah.
So, and it's great, obviously, to have the Fade Master himself here to end the year out. Wouldn't have it any other way. I believe our next episode might be the predictions show.
Ooh.
So we're gonna have, we're gonna have some hot takes, some third eye takes, maybe. We're gonna have Nostra Douglas. He was already itching to get on. I can tell he's been.
Too much starch.
I mean, there's been a lot of things forming in his crystal ball that he needs to, tell us all about. So, look forward to that. Everyone have a good holiday. You'll obviously be hearing this after the holidays. Have a happy New Year. You'll obviously be hearing this after the New Year.
Maybe,
so
maybe not.
Maybe. You don't know. Could come out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Don't know. But thanks, everybody, and we will see you later. So long.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, 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 again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again, again,